If you've ever worked in a literature department, you may have heard it asked if it should be our practice as educators and as readers to quote unquote separate the bad deeds or the bad characteristics of an author from their literary achievements. To which I would say, in a case like this one, good frickin' luck. Everything that is troubling, some of it very deeply troubling about Thomas Mann, his personal legacy and his textual one, is deeply baked into the fabric of this book, so much so that I would not dare try to separate it from the things that endear this novel so much to me. Just to mention two very brief examples that come up in the breakfast chapter. There is Hans Castorp's shock aplenty at meeting this new person and that new person and this person who is affected by grief in this way, this person who has an accent like that. One of the things that he discovers is that a member of the waitstaff is, gasp, a dwarf. We watch Hans Castorp take this in and not exactly adjust himself to the fact, but something of the sort. Later on, we are going to learn that this dwarf does have a name. Her name is Emerentia, which is a unusual and interesting name for reasons that I will not go into. But just in case it jumped out at you that there's a coarse reference to physical difference, yeah, there is. Yes, there is. And it's not exactly smoothed over, and it's not exactly not smoothed over. That happens a lot in the Magic Mountain. Something both is problematized in the text and at the same time is kind of shrugged at. I don't believe the effect is always done with equal sly candor across the board. I'm simply naming it in this case. The other thing you may have noticed is that in the cafeteria, there's a good Russian table and a bad Russian table for the refined Russians and for the less refined Russians. This is a, you might say, précise of the kind of Orientalism that we are going to see in this book. From a German perspective, what's East is, at least by Thomas Mann, fully capable of being exoticized in this particular way that has the hallmarks of what theorists might now call Orientalism. So for Mann, if it's East, that's the Orient. If it's South, Italy, that's death in Venice. You go there for sexual liberation, which may or may not kill you. Here, though, we are starting to see the way that he is parsing out German's Eastern other. The good Russian table and the bad Russian table. Now, I confess as a person living in the year 2024 that there is at least one Russian person on the planet I am not too fond of. But the category of bad Russians is not something to pretend, even in this just blatantly unpolitically correct environment, is an innocent thing to say. So this is just to call out the fact that there is quite a fair amount of political discomfort in the reading of this novel, or at least there should be. If there isn't, that to me seems a problem. Now, I actually have had folks who would defend Thomas Mann against me, understandably, try to tell me that I am being too hard on my poor favorite author and that it was a different time. To which I would say, well, times change because people take stands against them. Also, Thomas Mann was politically retrograde for his time. His older brother, Heinrich Mann, was considerably more left-leaning and revolutionary-minded and just sympathetic to the political left than Thomas Mann ever is. And many of his most democratic stances are things that his children, particularly Erika and Klaus, had to drag him into kicking and screaming. So, this is a little excursus on the badness of my favorite author, and my capitulation to the fact that it is so. We will go on and we will talk more about both why I find this such a troubling novel and why I love it anyway. Thanks, everyone.